I wanted to take some time to step back and look at the Arcana class over the last month or so. Not sure how long the class has been out now, but basically this whole period of time where Arcana has been released, and think about how the class has been playing, how it's felt, and then ask you guys how you felt about playing Arcana. Now, a portion of this video is going to be a review of the Arcana class, and hopefully it'll give you guys some idea of whether the Arcana class is one that you would want to try if you're thinking about trying it. And then I'd also like to hear from other people who have tried the class to see if it lived up to their expectation or if it didn't. So to start, I want to just go over the key characteristics, in my opinion, of Empress Arcana and talk about some of the things that I think make it stand out. It has very speedy rotations. It's an uptime playstyle, but there's still decision making for burst phases depending on the card you draw. There's a lot of execution elements associated with the class, especially around the mobility that it needs to use inside its skill set. Because of the way the rotation works and how card draw affects your rotation, your gameplay experience slightly varies from fight to fight. This is a big one for me. The Arcana is definitely a hipster class. It's not the most popular, and it's a little bit unique, right? It's a little bit off the beaten path. And I also think that skill expression for the class can be pretty obvious, which I think is a really nice feeling. When you see yourself doing a lot of damage, you know it's because you're doing multiple things correct. And if you fail to do those things, then your damage can be dramatically less than what it should be, which I think is appealing for some people. It certainly is for me. In actuality, Arcana, when played successfully, is a high damage class. I think it is capable of putting out damage that is on the upper tier of what Lost Ark has to offer. And I think is a great feeling as well, knowing that not only are you working hard for the damage that you get, but it's also worthwhile, right? I think there's nothing worse feeling than playing a class that takes a lot of effort to play properly, and then at the end of the day, you don't get that much damage because of it. So I think Arcana survives that a little bit by doing a good amount of damage, actually, when you play successfully. Next, I want to talk about some of the things that I think can turn people away, or maybe kind of improve their appreciation for the class. One is the melee gameplay. Empress Arcana is very close range for a lot of their important skills. It's very apparent when you start playing Arcana how much it is the case that you need to be hugging the boss during your attacks. The second thing is its inherent reliance on mobility. Because you're not a very tanky class, and your moveset oftentimes has mobility aspects to it attached, there's a lot of decision making around attacking while avoiding attacks at the same time, playing aggressively and defensively, and trying to kind of make simultaneous benefits for each of the abilities that you're using. There's a lot of cooldown math that you have to do as well for your rotation, constantly trying to assess, like, should you use a ruin skill outside of your return buff window? How do the cards change your decision on whether to hold the cooldown for a little bit and line things up versus pressing the button right now and perhaps risking wasting a cooldown? The plus minus on your damage is also highly based on you landing your stacking skills. If you miss your stacking skills, that can be very punishing. And to add on to this, the backloaded nature of your damage, in the sense that you have to land your stacking skills, and sometimes you have to land your damage buff as well before you get into your ruin, which does the actual damage for your class. And then two big things is the fact that Arcana is a late bloomer class. You really have to invest a lot. I still truly believe that you have to get to your relic set at the very least. You have to make sure you're getting your gems and your tripods squared away, which can be a lot of effort, especially for a new player. It can be very overwhelming if you don't have an infrastructure of your runes already built, you don't have a pool of gold that you can spend, and if you don't even understand these systems, right? The tripod system is immensely complicated, and to be able to navigate that and have an essential piece of your class be reliant upon you understanding the tripod system and then acquiring them aggressively, I think that can be a very divisive element of the class. And then the heavy research that goes into playing the class, learning your rotations, learning the math behind the cards and how they affect your decision, and playing optimally, which I think can be fun for people because there's a lot of room for study and growth and kind of improving your play. But it can also make people feel very lost, I think, if we don't have that research. Personally, playing the Arcana has been pretty fun for me. I actually really enjoyed the class overall. When I first set out to try Arcana, I was looking for a class that had fast-paced gameplay, but I didn't want it to be entirely an uptime class. I wanted to see big numbers. I wanted to have a big burst phase as well. But I wasn't really happy with something like Surge Deathblade, and I don't think I would have enjoyed Igniter Sork as well. I wanted something that was incredibly active, that had a lot of decision making involving changing elements of the rotation. And I think Arcana kind of like fit a lot of those windows. The mobility is really fun for me as well. The only thing that I would say is probably like the core aesthetic of the class, of like the cards and using the cards to attack, is probably not my favorite. But from a gameplay perspective, I thought Arcana was pretty satisfying. How did you guys feel? Did you guys enjoy the elements that you thought you would for Arcana? Was it as interesting as you expected it to be, or did it fall short? I'm curious to know. That's it for this week. I'm eager to see what you guys have to say in the comments, and I will see you guys next week.